All right. Begin broadcast. Another special interview for y'all tonight. Uh, I guess we'll start with the standard question of what's your name and what's your gimmick?
My name is Will, otherwise known as WiscoMaskCo or Willie Toussaint. That's my clown name. And my gimmick is making masks. I've been doing this for a good couple years now. I say couple. I've been into masks for like a really long time, but I started like fully making them in 2018, so it's been a minute.
Awesome. When did you actually? Let me do some ice breaking questions, and I have some mask questions for you.
Word,
Um,
word, word.
what were some of your favorite Halloween costumes as a kid that you dressed up as?
Oh shit, dude, that's such a good question. So like my first couple years, obviously, it's like your parents pick what you're wearing.
Yeah.
I was like a dragon, like Winnie the Pooh one time, Mike Wazowski, all sorts of shit like that. But I do remember the first costume I ever picked to wear. It was this like jester looking guy. It's an Easter Unlimited mask, and I got this like super dope flail to carry around. That was like a skull, like a rubber skull on the end of like a bunch of skulls to make the handle. But I always was like super addicted to Halloween. Like when my parents would take me to the store, whether it be like a department store or like a Halloween store for costumes, I was always looking for like some sort of dope prop or dope mask. But I remember one year I saved up a bunch of money like throughout the year, and come Halloween, I got this Don Post Rob Zombie mask, and I thought that was like one of the coolest things ever. Had like long black and white hair, and it's got the like the Hellbilly Deluxe cover basically.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. You collect
Yeah, and
Halloween masks, right?
yeah, I collect all sorts of masks. Mostly like Mushroom Head, but I have a bunch of stuff from a bunch of different indie artists and mass produced stuff. And then I also dip into like the vintage realm a lot. I collect a lot of vintage Halloween, all sorts of defunct brands that have been out of business for a long ass time now. So their shit's like super old and rare and sought after.
Do you have a vintage Halloween grail item, a mask, or even just another decoration? Is there one item that you're like, that's the one that I want?
Oh, dude. Okay, so I've had a couple of grails that I've literally owned and had to sell for
Oh
various reasons.
shit.
But like a bunch of ones that like people are usually after are like the ones that Slipknot or Mushroom Head or a couple other bands have used like for their masks. Like a lot of people don't realize, but like Slipknot, like all their self-titled shit and pre-self-titled shit for that matter, is all store-bought stuff that they
Mm.
converted. Same thing with Mushroom Head. When they first came out in '93, it was all store-bought stuff, and they just changed them up, paint, straps, cut them apart, zippers, rivets, the whole nine yards. And one of them I had is a mask made by uh, Paper Magic Group. It's called the Ghost Glow in the Dark, nicknamed the Ghost Glow, and that's the mask Corey had on self-titled after the dummy. So like the first just plain white dummy, that's a Tycho crash dummy.
Really?
After
That's a
that was
crash
that
dummy
one,
helmet.
and it, yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah, it's a latex crash dummy. Those
That's
are
wild.
super sought after to find originals. They're hard. They're rot monsters. They fall apart. Those cheap Chinese latex masks were never meant kind of to stick around this long. So it's pretty cool that people still have like real ones and shit. But
How did
the
you
Ghost Glow is a vinyl mask, so it like never falls apart. But I had one of those that I got secondhand,
is that how
and
you got into mask making? Was it the Slipknot of it all? Or does it go further than
the
that?
theatrical for sure. Like I was always obsessed with Halloween. I used to just spend countless hours as a kid. I was a lonely ass kid. I didn't really have a whole lot of friends. I didn't really do a whole lot. And I just always liked Halloween. So like when I could get on the family computer or a library computer or a computer at school, I was just on Google and YouTube, just cool masks, like cool Halloween masks, Halloween prop, just all sorts of stuff like that. And it just led me straight down the rabbit hole to that. I found all in one summer. I found Slipknot and Guar, and Mushroomhead is my favorite, of course, but and them and Mudvayne and just like a whole bunch of theatrical bands, just like all at one time. It was like one summer. The summer when I was like 11 years old is what I usually confidently say, but I know for a fact I had the Scorpion King movie soundtrack when I was like 8, and that has a Mushroomhead song on it. So I was already exposed before that.
How
But
did
yeah, I
you
just would Google and I would find like video slideshows on YouTube, like old YouTube, and people like showing off stuff. That's how I found other collectors firsthand. Was the first time I was seeing Slipknot masks, not in a music video or a photo shoot with them, were people on YouTube, like who had either replicas or they had like the real deal vintage stuff, like I was telling you about, and it just pushed my wig back. Like I've been watching AJ Good since I was probably 14 years old.
so the mask making was already a thing, even before finding out about more theatrical, musical groups. You were already
Not
heavy into that?
making, just the interest.
Mm,
It eventually turned into I got a job finally, and I could afford to like buy myself more cool shit. So I started buying myself mushroom head masks, and then
mm.
I started painting on masks. There's a term in the hobby a lot of people use, just call it like conversion, which is like with those vintage Slipknot masks, like the store bought ones, you convert them to look like how they're supposed to. So I started doing like some conversions and repainting like store bought masks, and then I started buying like raw blank casts, like just some raw latex out of the mold from other artists, so I could paint. And then it got to the point where I'm just like, why am I relying on all these other people? Why am I not like actually starting to do this? You know, like why am I not from the ground up yet? And I had gotten a hold of a mold that a friend sculpted, and he only ever made a couple from that mold, and I just thought it was like a neat little thing, and I was like, oh, this will be like good to practice on. And then I got that, and within like a month is when PJ and I really started pushing SCS really hard, and then it was onto the Sad Clowns, and then onto the ICP mass, and it's just been a complete whirlwind after that. I've done a lot of stuff since I started doing that, so it's pretty cool.
Can you? I know our plan was to have you maybe show us a little bit of the process. You want to do some of that now, and maybe we can set one for a little bit later for the folks here.
Yeah, yeah. You want me to do that now?
Yeah, I figure we could start that, and then when it's ready, we can like it can just like have that be a way to like break it up a
Word.
little bit.
Yeah, I can like talk and answer questions while I'm doing it too. Let me take my cool clothes off. I got my shitty art clothes on underneath because making masks, if you don't know, guys, is a really, really, really messy hobby. You will get latex everywhere, 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 everywhere. Um, yeah, I have a sad clown cooking in the mold right now. It's already cured. I poured it the other day. It's been really cold and honestly a little damp here. And latex is a very environmental material because it's natural. It comes from a latex tree, but they add stuff to it. It's not. I don't use like 100% pure natural latex. I use the compound RD 407 latex. It's a high grade casting latex. It's industry standard stuff. Uh, and it can get affected by humidity, temperature, all sorts of stuff. So it's a little cold, but we've got one cured in here. So this is my sad clown mold, and
Here, I'm gonna
poured one
put
the
you
other
full
day, and
screen
it's ready
here.
to be taken out. So I will take that out first, and then we will rapid reload it, and I'll cast and kind of explain how casting works a little bit. First thing I have to do is powder the inside of this because latex is rubber and rubbers will naturally kind of stick to themselves uh, just by like touching. It's kind of like I don't know, think of like a grippy on a pencil, you know? Like if you like squish it together and like try to go like this, it doesn't really move. It kind of grips, you know? So latex has that hold like that. So all I have is just some 100% cornstarch in this little thing here. And I'm going to brush it into the mold here, right on top of the latex, because that will give it sort of a anti-stick coating. And it also is much more comfortable to wear a mask that has been powdered rather than one that has not been powdered, because the same thing, it will grip on your face and not feel the greatest if you do not. So got a little makeup. I've got a little makeup brush right here, and we're just gonna powder this quick. I should readjust this so y'all can kind of see what I'm doing. I'll angle it down a little bit here.
I just wanted to say real quick, it is the worst to put on a Halloween mask that doesn't have the powder and have it be sticking to your face like
Oh,
that.
dude, especially if you have hair. If you have a
Oh
beard or
man.
have hair, it is so uncomfortable. So I always am very anal retentive about getting these powdered. Um,
All right,
and I'm not a scientist and I can't quote it, but this like high grade casting latex like this is a lot more gentle on skin. A lot of people who have latex allergies are actually just more so allergic to the really cheap, shitty latex. So um, a lot of the thinner stuff, more mass produced stuff you see from companies like Trick or Treat Studios or Ghoulish Productions uh, or various foreign companies that I don't know the name of, is very thinned down because it's mass production grade latex. They're thinning down their batches with various chemicals, mostly ammonia. Latex naturally contains ammonia, so that's kind of why cheaper masks smell really bad. But like when I open my latex bucket, you smell ammonia. It smells like ammonia because it has ammonia in it. So we've got it powdered, and now it is ready to pull from the mold. And you just kind of grab an edge and start pulling it down. This one is pretty free from the mold already. It really depends on the cast. Sometimes they will like grip up in there really tight, and other times they kind of, as they're drying, they like shrink up a little bit. Latex shrinks usually between like 5 and 10% when it dries. So a lot of times it'll just free itself, and in this case it did. It came right off really easily. And now you see the bare mold. This is a plaster, specifically Ultra Cal. It's a gypsum cement plaster. It's very hard. It's not like a plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris is really, really soft and you can like scratch it and stuff. But this is a super hard gypsum cement plaster. And
now do you
that's
you
what
do
we'll be
you
using.
sculpt? You obviously have to sculpt before you can do the molds, right?
Yeah. So like certain things I've done are masks that I have quote unquote resurrected. So those are like molded from another cast. This one was sculpted by PJ. He's the king of
Okay.
the sad clowns. This was the V1, the first ever one he did. It's the first ever mask he sculpted too. But yeah, you put your plaster down onto your clay, and that's how you make a mold. But then I also do something called making a master, a production master, and that is how you make sure your sculpt never dies out because you can just keep making them. Uh,
Ooh.
T masters really quick. It's right over here. Sometimes they're foam filled, sometimes they're not. These ones are not foam filled, but they're latex. I have urethane ones of these, so that's why I didn't foam fill them. But it's just a really thick cast that holds its shape, and you put that down on your work surface here, and you make your mold right on top of it, and it holds the shape. And that's how mask companies who do mass production or anything like that, that's how they can make 30,000 masks from one sculpture, is they make something called a production master.
That's so rad to see. I'm so glad we did this, because it's like really rad to see the behind the scenes stuff, right? Like this.
Yeah, I've got a couple masters here. Some of my other ones are upstairs, but there's the Sad Clown master, and I got the Agony master is the last master I made for myself, and that one's foam filled. So like it's just a polyurethane foam. It's a squishy, softer foam. So it really holds its shape. These ones I would stuff and then make the mold on top of them, but this one is stuffed in itself, so I don't have to stuff it because it's got the foam. But yeah, you just anchor that down on your work surface, and you can make a wall around it so your mold will have a nice lip on it, and you just throw down the plaster and you're good to go.
That's so rad. Now y'all might recognize that as the Gloom Unit mask. Am I right? The Agony one?
Yeah, that's the one I used to do the Gloom Unit mask, whichever you want to refer to it by.
The Gloom Goon.
When it's not done in gloom fashion, it's called Agony. Because our whole gimmick is sad clowns. Like my brand is WiscoMaskCo, and PJ, otherwise known as Paul J. Vick or Perfect Ugly. His brand is Perfect Ugly, but we have a co-brand that we've been running together for just as long as I've been making masks. Technically, even a little longer, because I'm kind of his protege, if you want to refer to it as that. And he's taught me like all the fundamentals, and then I've kind of just run with it since then. And then we formed SatCon Studios, so all of our shit is usually pretty sad, and that's what got up on stage with ICP and everything in between.
Yeah, you've had multiple clown designs with ICP at this point, right?
Yeah, we've done a good couple batches. At the gathering this year, PJ debuted the very newest sad clown, and it was those red clowns that were on stage with the big lips and the big black eyes and huge red crazy hair wigs. That's the newest sad clown. A lot of people don't realize, but it's actually a female sculpt, so it's another sad girl. We've only had one other sad girl, and we've had a bunch of sad boys. So he debuted that one, and it's pretty fresh. I'm really excited to see more.
Can we see the one that you
see them?
Can we see the one that you just pulled out of that sculpt, actually?
Yeah, of course. Let me move the mold back a little bit. So, like when you make a mold, it's a negative of the sculpt, because your sculpt is a positive. You make a mold, it creates a negative. You cast latex in it or whatever material to get a positive. So like it's got flashing and stuff right now because obviously it's not trimmed. I just pulled it out, but this is the V1 Sad Clown raw and in the flesh. It's an old mold, and it has had a lot of casts through it. This is the only mold I have that is one of one, so to speak. I have a master, and I plan to retool this and debut like a V1.5, if you will. But it's starting to show its age. It's getting some bubbles in the mold there, but all it really takes is just some polishing up. I use a Dremel, and it's like it was never there.
Kind of just buff it off real quick.
Yep, exactly.
That's freaking rad. That's so cool to see. Thank you for actually like doing that. This was actually Will's idea. I saw people giving me the credit for this. This was Will's idea to do the mask molds and stuff.
This is just another one I did the other day. Same thing. And then I got a bunch behind me that I'm in the middle of painting. I guess I could probably show those in a minute. But I'll crack my latex bucket open here, and I will start the casting process.
This is so rad. So he's gonna actually cast one too. Y'all saw the end process. We're gonna see the beginning part of that now.
So I primarily do a method of casting called dwell casting, which basically means you fill the mold up to the top and let it sit for a while. You kind of let it stoop. It the the plaster will start to absorb the moisture out of the latex and build up like a uniform layer across the whole thing. And dwell times really can also be affected because, like I said, latex is a natural product, so it can be affected by like a lot of different environmental things. Um, Typically, my conditions down here in the basement studio, because it's a concrete basement and underground, it's cold and damp usually. I typically let my stuff dwell between an hour and 2 hours. But I'm almost out of latex right now, so we're gonna do a combination of slush casting and dwell casting. And all slush casting is like you put some in there and roll it around to cover all the edges and dump it out.
All right, let's go. I wanted to ask a question while we're doing this.
Yeah.
That I skipped over, one of my icebreaker questions. If you had to do a Mount Rushmore with only slashers from horror movies, what would be your slasher Mount Rushmore?
Okay. That's a good one.
Shouts out to Whoop
I have
Canada.
been a Jason fanboy for as long as I've been watching horror movies. So Jason's definitely on there, and as cookie cutter as it is, Freddy too. Dream Warriors. I remember watching Dream Warriors for the first time at my babysitter's house when I was like 6, and I was like so enamored, but also like terrified that I like couldn't look away, and that's probably most of the reason why I'm so into horror movies, because I was exposed to a lot of old ones at my babysitter's when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I watched mad horror
And
movies
then
way too young. Way too young. I've always been drawn to the shit. You got two more.
oh shit.
We got Jason, we got Freddy. Oh, what we hold on, I'm gonna get rid of my
Would you consider Candyman a slasher?
That's a good question. I guess so. Yeah,
I would
I
put
think you could.
Candyman on there because that was the first horror series that I ever was able to. Granted, it was at that time. Now we have a new Candyman, but that was the first horror series I ever like started to finish, if you want to call it that. Uh, Also, at my babysitter's when Chiller Channel still existed on DirecTV, I watched all of the Candymans one day during the summer at her house, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" And I told my mom, I was like, "Mom, have you ever heard of Candyman?" It was so hilarious and
She
kind
was
of
like, "Don't
wholesome,
say it. Don't
honestly.
say it again. Don't."
Yeah, no, literally, that's what she said. She was like, "Oh my god, we used to be so scared of that when we were kids," and it was just funny. But yeah, Tony Todd is the shit. I love Candyman. I think the third one is probably my favorite.
What did you think of that remake?
I liked it. I thought it
I
was
really liked it.
really cool that they opened up the concept that Candyman is forever and he takes like a different vessel.
I like that they used the lore from the first one like heavily, but like also just like
Yeah.
built off of it and made it something new. It's like really good. I thought it was really good. I've
Yeah, no,
only
I went
just
and saw that
recently
in theater and
I've
I
only
really
just
liked it.
recently started fucking with the Candyman movies too. I just recently saw the first one shit like right as the remake was coming out or something. I think is the what
Oh,
made me
word.
actually watch the first one. I've still not seen the second one or the
Never
third
too
one,
late to
so
start.
oh, and you
Word.
got one more slasher by the way.
Um, Damn, dude, this is hard. Uh,
You got Jason, you got Freddy, you got Candyman.
Pinhead, absolutely
Pinhead?
Pinhead. The Hellraiser series. Clive Barker in general, but the Hellraiser series is like something that has so much influenced a lot of things in my life, like even like down to some of my fashion sometimes. But like being into masks and stuff, it's that like primal body horror, beautiful, nasty. '80s gore. You know, it's unbeatable, and I just love Clive Barker, dude.
You must love Nightbreed too, then, huh?
Oh, you said my keyword. Yes, sir. When I was in high school, still, I was, I don't know if every state has this, but Wisconsin has something called the Wisconsin Visual Arts Classic. It's a competition between a bunch of the high schools in the state just doing art stuff, and there's judges and stuff, and you, like at regionals, you come with your long-term project. Like they give you 3 months to make something, and there's a bunch of different categories, and each school can have 2 kids in each category. And then you do an on-site too. You get there, and they're like, okay, you have 3 hours to do this with these rubrics. Uh, you have to bring all your own materials too, usually, which is pretty crazy. But I used to be super deep into the art team. And my senior year, when I was art team captain, because seniors were captains naturally, the project I did that year, the theme for the Visual Arts Classic was Wisconsin folk art. Wisconsin has always had a really rich folk art culture. We have so many roadside attractions that are just weird, weird folk art. And the prompt for sculpture that year, that was the category I was in, was to create something that looked like it could be from a folk art environment. And I ended up doing this crazy found materials, because that was one of the prompts, was there had to be found materials involved with your sculpture. And I used like a beat up mannequin head from down here that had been painted on countless times, and like a broken candlestick I found, and I put broken pieces of mirror all over the candlestick, and I had like nails and staples and all sorts of stuff in the head of the mannequin. But essentially, because you have to write like a bio for your piece, I wrote that it was like a society for rejects. And that was like one of the founding members, and it was like a statue kept on the main gate, which essentially was, I was making my own Midian. And juggaloism has kind of always been my Midian, so I am very in tune with my breed.
That's so rad that you had to make up lore for it as well.
Yeah.
How did you actually come to find ICP and like as a fan in the Juggalodium? Was it
So,
in that year, that year of 11?
dude, I wish it was. I really wish it was. So, like, the area in Wisconsin I live in, I technically live in north central Wisconsin. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like, my town is a population of 1,400. I graduated with 42 kids. They're all country bumpkins over here, dude. There was like the occasional metalhead kid, and then like the fuckboy like rapper kids. Nobody was bumping ICP in school. Um, but I started hanging out with PJ because I met him at a Mushroomhead show when I was 15, and towards the end of that year, which this is later 2015, I met him in March of 2015 at a Mushroomhead show for the first time, and he put that influence all up on me. I was like, this is everything I've ever wanted and more. Like,
Yeah.
how did I not know this sooner? But then a couple of years ago, I found out on YouTube, like you can go through your likes and playlists and favorites, and you can switch the order that they're presented. So one day I was just like, oh, let me click it to show oldest added first. And there was this video in my likes of this dude with a UV painted clown mask lip syncing to my axe. And I remember watching that video so many times because I thought it was so cool, dude.
And so that was after you found out about ICP, or was that like before you really knew what they
I
were?
watched that. Yeah, it was before I really knew who they were. I was a pretty much a youngin. My dad is like a through and through like Gen X metalhead. So the only rap I really ever heard around him was like DMX, 50 Cent, and unfortunately Eminem. um, but Yeah, no, I started talking to PJ and hanging out with him, and he put
You
on
remember what
Mighty Death
PJ?
Pop.
You remember what PJ played for you first?
When I'm Clowning, the Kuma remix with Danny Brown.
Oh hell yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Danny fucking murders that verse.
Fuck the Krayshawn version.
Yeah, fuck. I was just telling Em that there's a Creation version, and she thought I was talking about
Oh
Violent
man.
J's Creation song. I'm like, no, no, no. She's actually like on a remix. She actually has a very. She's just kept thought I was talking about that
Yeah,
song.
no, not the Krayshawn song, but yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I listened to the rest of the album. Like there's the triple version on Spotify, where it's like the collection of the red, white, and black.
Yeah,
And I
the
listened to
Uber
that, and
collection.
I heard like Chris Benoit and Daisies and just, I don't know. Mighty Death Pop is like such a perfect album to me, and it might be because it was just like my first exposure. But
Daisies is a
the
really
love
good
for Death
song.
Pop has never ever faded, and it never will. I will die on the hill defending Death Pop till my very last breath. Um,
The second deck gets a lot of shit, but I mean, those are great albums, man. There's some really good ones. There's like, yeah, maybe Missing Link has a couple of sleepers on it, but even those albums have so many bangers on them too. Like, I don't know, the second deck gets so much shit, and it's just like back in the day when Tempest and all of those albums used to get shit too. But those Tempest is a fucking classic. It's like bangers top to bottom. Like, I don't know, like I don't get it.
it bewilders me every day that people hate Tempest. I will never understand. Never.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Like I saw this one dude kind of put it into perspective one time, I guess, but I wasn't seeing eye to eye with him at all. But he was like, imagine hearing Violent J tell you that after Hell's Pit, it's going to be the most wicked, evil shit you'll ever hear, and then buying Tempest and putting that into your CD player. And I was like, well, I would have been happy as hell. I don't know about you, but I love
There's so much
Tempest.
inventive songwriting on that. Growing Again blows my mind every time I hear it. Like that song's so fucking
It's
good.
such an atmospheric song, dude. It's like it's so fun. I can like listen to that song and like see the whole story like a music
Yeah,
video in my head.
for sure. I mean, that's one of his best examples of like being able to storytell, and like you said, you can see that shit like a movie in your head, like as he's rapping the song. Oh shit, what are you doing now?
I put it in this basket because the bottom of the mold is like round. It's shaped like a clown, obviously. So it doesn't sit up straight. I was trying to get it to sit up straight without having to put it in the basket, but it's not going to balance. And when I poured latex in, it would just tip over anyways. So I just get these cheap, these like $10 file crates from a Walmart or what have you, and I have like some foam pads so it kind of holds the mold snug and it won't tip or rock and spill latex everywhere because latex is expensive and it's not very fun to waste or make a mess with. And I'm about to stand up and dump what I have worth of latex. I'm pretty low on latex. I have like this much in the bucket, but it's enough to do this and do the like slush slash dwell pour. So you basically just dump your mask soup right on in there. And then I'll pull this back down and you rotate it because I don't have enough to fill the mold. When I was saying dwell casting, normally I would fill this to the very top and then let it sit for like an hour and a half. But we got that much, so we're gonna roll with what we got, and you just kind of rock it from side to side and get all your coverage. It's like I don't know, butter in a baking pan or something. You just gotta cover all your edges, and then you're good to go. But I'm gonna let it sit, and then every little bit, I'll just pick it up and rock it and do another little coat. And
Yeah,
after about 3 or 4 of those, I'll be happy with that. And you dump it out, and then
you can
you just
see how much
gotta
of
you
it is
gotta
already
look good.
sticking just from the one go around that you just did.
Yeah. It'll like sink down a little bit. It'll get a little thinner, but also what I did when I was brushing in that first coat, I refer to that as like a beauty coat or a brush in coat. I'm sure other mask makers have called it by other terms, but you just use a chip brush and brush in the latex, the first layer kind of over the whole surface, and it helps with prohibiting bubbles from coming out of the mold into your cast because plaster is a porous material, so it'll absorb water and air, and sometimes it's almost like it'll like breathe into your wet cast. So like you'll do a coat and you'll see no bubbles and everything will look good, and you'll put the mold down and walk away and come back like an hour later and you'll just see bubbles everywhere because the mold had air trapped in it and it's coming out when you put the latex in.
Now, earlier you said this stuff is a pain in the ass to spill. Does it like what's the cleanup process if you say you were to
So
spill some of
if
this?
it's a smooth, non-porous surface, it's like nothing. You just peel it off. Like if I spilt it on concrete or plastic, it'll just come right off. But if there's like fiber,
Like on a wooden
like
table?
obviously you can probably see it's any fabric or textile whatsoever. The second it touches it, it's on it forever. You're not gonna get it off. If you're gonna make masks, don't wear anything of value that you enjoy how it looks because it'll look like that after a while. And that's why I kind of just wear beater clothes down here. I've always gambled. I've gambled a couple times, and I always end up with like a stray piece of latex. You like think you're clear, and you think you had no like splashes or spills or anything when you were doing your cast, and then you like get upstairs, and then you see a big glob of latex on Violent J's face, and you want to scream.
You're like, damn it, that one little drop right on Jay's face. Um,
Yeah, no.
how much? I don't know if this is too inside baseball. How much is a bucket of that stuff?
So rubber, much like gas, fluctuates in price, believe it or not. During COVID was the most I ever had to pay for mask making materials, but
Ooh.
it's been the hustle for years
Now I
now,
want
and
to
I
know
kind of
the answer
needed
to
it.
that question. How much it was it in COVID times then?
The most I paid for a bucket during COVID times was $210 for a 5 gallon bucket. Uh, Typically it's about 150 for me. I go to a supply uh chain slash store slash art studio in Chicago. It's called Reynolds Advanced Materials. They have locations nationwide. I think they have 7 of them. I know there's one in Ohio. I'm sure there's one over in California and a couple other more West Coast places. But the closest one to me is in Chicago, and they have like all the crazy art supplies that you're not going to find anywhere else. It's an advanced materials warehouse slash supply chain, but they also teach classes and do demos there. And that's where I go to get my latex, my polyurethane foam, my silicone for making silicone molds,
That's
pretty
the
much
spot.
everything there.
That's the fucking
Yeah,
spot then, yeah. Um, let's see. So you PJ is how you linked with ICP. I would take it
yeah.
to start
He's the
working.
one who introduced
Cool.
music wise, and then
Also working with them though, the same deal.
yeah. So this is a funny story, and I don't think I've ever really told it to a whole lot of people. But the first time I ever finally got to see ICP was on Fury Tour in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in June of 2019. Can't remember the specific date off my head right now. But I brought the first ever sad clown I ever painted and finished there with me. And PJ, because he's like, man, this is your first ICP show. We're gonna fucking do this right. And he bought me a VIP pass because I was a scrub. I got my $50 ticket, and I thought that's all I had to worry about. I was like, oh, I don't need VIP this time. I'll do it some other time. Yada yada. And he was like, nah, fuck that. I'm getting you a VIP pass. We're gonna do it up. It's your first show. You have to. And So you bring something to get signed in the merch line, and I was like, okay, I'll bring my sad clown, and it's the first one I ever painted and finished, and poured and pulled myself. Uh, and it's the half and half. The first ever half and half I did. So it's half Jay, half Shaggy, split down the middle, bloody, stitched up. Uh, and my painting has evolved so much since then. Like if I have a lot of nostalgia and love for that one, but if I'm being honest, it kind of sucks. But it's the first time I ever did it. I had never done it before. It was just like I went out on a whim with it, and I painted and finished that one in the summer of 2017, and then I held on to it and just kept doing my thing. And then Fury Tour came around. I brought that to the show. Uh, we get in the little VIP room, and I'm talking to them, and I was like explaining to them, like, yeah, this is our character. It's the sad clown. You always see people with clown masks where they're smiling or laughing or creepy clown mask with like huge teeth or something, And I was like, we don't really think the sad genre has been capitalized, and like me and him are some pretty sad clowns. So we got this sad old man clown, and naturally, because I love you both, I put you on it. And Jay like hits Shaggy on the arm, and he goes like, "You hear that, Shags? He's calling us sad old men." I was like, I started to panic inside. I was like, no. And they were laughing and shit, and they were just giving me so many props. And Shaggy was like, "You gotta make more of these shits and put them on eBay, yo," or something like that. And I was just like, wow, this is like the most magical night I think I've ever had. Like, it just changed a lot of things, and then like we kind of forgot about it, and then Fury Tour was the last tour they did pre-COVID, so I didn't get to see him again until later on. And what had happened was during lockdown in June of 2020, when they wanted to do the Hootenanny Hoedown show. Sorry, June of 2021, my bad. When they wanted to do the Halloween Hootenanny show, Halloween. Oh my God.
Hillbilly
Hootenanny Hoedown show. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I was there.
They were in the middle of starting to get the Lotus Pod ready for when they were moving out.
Because this was around the time they moved everything out of the psychopathic warehouse too.
Yes, sir. And PJ and I went to go see Spiral. It was brand new in theater. It had come out like that week. I was at his house visiting in Chicago. I would go there a lot more frequently when I was still in college because I wasn't working nearly as much. And we would just do like a mask lab weekend, make molds, do all sorts of other shit. And we're sitting in Spiral, and we're the only ones in the theater. No one else is there, so we can be as loud as we want, do whatever we want. And PJ like punches me in the arm. He's like, "Tell me why the fuck ICP just messaged me, dude."
Whoa.
And he turns his phone around, and it's the Insane Clown Posse Instagram account.
Yeah.
With my VIP picture holding up the sad clown, big cheesin' baby face, like no beard, like holding up my sad clown between Jay and Shaggy, with the message following up, "Can you make more of these?"
Fuck yeah. That's so fucking rad. That is so fucking rad. And so those masks were made for the Hootenanny Hoedown?
So by that time, we had the V2 Sad Clown debuted already, which is like the one you put in the thumbnail, that more like muscular chiseled jaw one.
Yeah.
That's the V2. And there's two versions of the V2. There's the scratch mold where it's like super heavily textured. It almost looks like it looks like a chisel sculpture, It's not like a smooth, flawless face. It's all scratchy. It takes a black wash and like a dirty weathering really good. It's more of a grungy version. And then there's the smooth faced version. And between us going back and forth with them, it was Violent J's assistant Rudy who had found us and contacted us. He remembered me from that VIP and found that picture on on social media and then hit up PJ asking us to make more. And we did a Skittles run, if you will, of the V2 scratch molds. It was a blue, a yellow, a green, and a red, and there was 2 of each, and it was the V2 Sad Clown scratch mold. So there was 8 masks in total that we shipped to them, and those were used for the Hootenanny Hoedown.
That's so
And then
rad. I was
naturally,
there for that
that
show
was
too. I
in
saw your work.
June. That's so cool, dude.
Yeah,
I keep finding more and more like weird little like spider web, so to speak, ways that I've been connected to people who I talk to all the time now before I even knew them. And that's just like one of the things. It's kind of really neat to me to hear stuff like
that's
that.
so rad. That was the first show where the clowning was, because I drove all the way fucking from Vermont down to that show, because it was like you said, it was like, just coming out of COVID, and like shows really weren't going on for a long time. So I
No,
was
no.
real thirsty to like get out there and like, and I had quit drinking, so I was like real fucking thirsty to get out there and actually like fucking experience something. So I was so excited to go to that show. That show was the shit. Were you there for that?
Dude, I wish.
Oh,
This was college times, so I was pretty scrubbing hard, and because of how soon it was to when they originally messaged us, because I had taken a weekend off of work and went to Chicago to do mask stuff with PJ. And when they hit us up, by the time they hit us up, it was slightly less than 3 weeks until the Hoedown show. So I could not get off of work. And
and you had
neither
to
could
fucking
PJ couldn't go to West Virginia.
you had to book it to make those masks too. Like you had to be like, all right, well, let's go like now. We got to do let's
Yeah,
go do this
yeah,
now.
pretty much. And it was cool because before that, we hadn't really put wigs onto the sad clowns yet. It was kind of like a venture we hadn't taken. We were doing mostly bald ones because like, oh, people have hair, or they want to do this, that, or the other. We just hadn't gotten into putting hair on masks yet. It was the next step in our evolution, if you want to call it that. And that was the first time we ever put hair on masks like that, and it was just our trial run with ICP, and it went well. They liked the Hootenanny mask. They were a fan. They were happy with the quality and the outcome and everything in between. So then naturally, because that was in June, uh, the gathering was the next step, and they were like, "Okay, let's do this again." Also, can you do dead body men? And we were like, "Get this, we have a skull mask. Yes, we can do dead body men." And then him and I both did a big batch of sad clowns and dead body men. I think I did 5 V1 sad clowns in various different colors. I did 6 dead body men, like 2 of each design I kind of did with the dead body men. And then I made Jay and Shaggy a mask of their face, because that was when I started making the Jay and Shaggy masks. But it was before I started doing them in latex. So they got a resin, basically like a face shell of their faces, and I did them like vocalist style. I cut the mouth out, and I had them like all scratched up. I like took my Dremel and I made them look kind of rugged, and the mouths were all like sliced up, and they were like heavily blackwashed and stuff. And that was the first gathering coming out of COVID. 2020 was going to be my first gathering. I was like, holy shit, PJ, they're doing a bizarre gathering. Like, this is insane. I was like freaking out and so excited. And then, what
Yeah,
happened?
COVID happened.
So
So you went to
I was,
you went to 2021 though.
no. And that's what
Oh
the real bonus was, because I made all those masks, dude. And I had to send them with PJ to get delivered, because the gathering took place my first week of classes
shit.
in school, and I wanted to graduate on time. And if I missed the first week of classes, well, that's like $5,000 down the drain, because you're kicked
Yeah.
out of every class if you miss the first day. It's just like a principal at the school I went to.
So your
And it
masks
really, really, really sucked. It was like so heartbreaking. But I
so
was
your
like,
masks had been
this is
used. your masks had been used twice and you weren't there for either of them, but you're
Yeah,
still in
dude.
the back of
Yeah,
your head.
yeah,
You're like, yo, my shit's on the like, yo, like seeing
yeah.
pictures of it and shit. Like that's fucking crazy. That's fucking
And
crazy.
I've been doing it ever since then too. But I'll find like stuff with my mask and on social media, like for Skankfest. I saw through Skankfest videos that some of our masks got used again. So I was like DMing people who were getting reposted by the Legion of Skanks Instagram account, like, "Yo, me and my best friend made those masks. Can you please send me your pictures, videos, etc., so I can have them for reference? Because like I like to keep track of my stuff." And like two of the three guys responded, but the guy with like the best shit, um, he sent me like the wrong video back, and I was just like, I don't know this guy. I don't feel like bothering. Whatever. I'll just accept this one he sent.
That's so fucking
Uh,
rad though. So what was the first ICP show where you saw your work? Was that the 2022?
Hollow Wicked 2021.
Okay. Yeah,
So I
okay.
just had to wait a couple more months after the gathering, and I
And
took our asses to Detroit. I drove us to Detroit, and we did another batch of masks for that too. And what's really funny about that is the exchange for those is the sketchiest thing I've ever had to do. And PJ laughs at me to this day about it. But rather than meet outside the venue or meet at a hotel or something to do the exchange with Rudy, he had us meet him at the McDonald's on 8 Mile.
like a fucking
I
drug deal.
was so terrified being on 8 Mile, dude. I was like, PJ, do you see all these blinking lights on top of the gas station? Do you know what those mean? Do you know what that blinking light means, dude?
Yo, I thought Detroit was I think that was that the Hollow Wicked where Yum Yum dropped?
Yes. I went to
Yeah.
the Yum Yum release show the night before while so many other people were across town at Twisted. And
Yo.
I had a grand old time, dude. I had the greatest time ever at the Yum Yum release show. I thought it was the coolest shit ever.
So that was
The
the
real
one.
kicker to that show was after they finished, because they did that like mini set, you know, they
Yeah,
didn't do
yeah,
like
yeah.
a full set, just a Fago list short set. Right after Jay finishes, he puts his microphone right in my hand and gets off stage. He gave me his microphone, and I had it for a total of about 30 seconds. I started screaming and freaking out. I was like, I deserve this. Everything I've done, everything I've worked for, all this effort, all of my art that I've pushed, all this stuff I've done my fucking self. I deserve this. And I was just like so overjoyed. I was about to cry. And then I get a big ass hand on my shoulder saying, "You're going to have to give that back." And it was venue security.
You were
And
gonna
I was
actually
like,
leave
"Let
with
me
the
give it
mic.
back to him in person." And they're like, "No, you can't do that." And I was like, "Let me give it back to him in person. He gave it to me." And they
Yo.
were out, and then like I heard, "He's over there," and then I see like three more security guards coming. I was like, "This is not a fight I can win. I should have just took the mic and ran, dude."
Can you imagine? Like I still have the mic too. Yo,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we were at that one too. That was M's first ICP show. Was that Hallow Wicked? That specifically the Hallow Wicked night. And so you saw. Did you see your masks that the previous night during the record release party, or was it
They didn't have
at
any
Hallow
any
Wicked?
masks or characters out on stage. It
So
was
it
it
was
was
actually
just
at Hallow Wicked that you were in the crowd and you're like, holy shit, there's my
yeah,
like
dude. I was like screaming when they started playing the witch off of Hell's Pit. I just started weeping, dude. I just started weeping in the fucking crowd. I was like, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it. I'm just like, everything I have worked for, every single cent I've ever spent on materials or collecting or anything for that matter, every ounce of effort I've ever put through, every drop of creative juice that has flowed through my body has amounted to this. Uh, and it was just the most surreal thing ever watching my stuff come out and be side by side with my heroes.
that's freaking awesome. That's so awesome. So how did the connection with Ouija, because you did some gathering Ouija masks as well. Was that based off of the ICP stuff, I would assume, or was there another connection?
Yeah, so So that mold is the Dead Body Man mold. It's the same skull
Oh,
mold.
so
I
it's the
have one
same
that I'm
one, the
working on
same
in the
skull.
background. I'll just grab it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. That's also in the thumbnail. You can see the little skull with the dreadies.
This is a custom one I'm working on. He's got some fro up. He's sick. But yeah, it's this skull mold. It's Ouija's ones. Most of the Dead Body Men, I did 2 of them in all of the batches that I've done for ICP. 2 of them don't have a neck. One of them was because I was in a time crunch and the neck was Swiss cheese full of holes. And I'm like, you know what? Someone can wear one without a neck. I bet it'll be more comfortable and that person will be happier than everyone else wearing one. Because they wanted stylistically, they wanted it with the neck. It's not super uncomfortable, but if you have a short neck, I mean, you can see kind of how tall that is. If you have a short neck, it's not going to be as comfortable, yada, yada. And then I did one because I wanted to, because I thought it would look cooler on one of my god skulls. But so Ouija was doing the Fallen Angelic tour in the winter of 2022, and I shit my pants because when it was announced, there was a show in Appleton, which is 45 minutes away. That's the closest, like larger scale Juggalo shows have ever been to me. Was that one show in Appleton? ICP when they play is 9 out of 10 times in Milwaukee, occasionally Madison. And when it's in Milwaukee, it's always at the Rave. And I really hate that venue, dude. I hate the Rave. I
What do you
think it
hate
is the
about
worst
what do you hate about
venue
the
in the
rave?
state. If not, it's so shitty, dude. It's their policies, their staff, their prices, their parking, the area, the building itself. I went there to see Mudvayne 2 years ago in August, and I got heat stroke and passed out.
Whoa.
And I woke up. I was in the crowd when I passed out. It was before Mudvayne even came on. It was during this band in Star Set. Passed out, hit the deck like a sack of potatoes because there's no ventilation in there whatsoever. So when it's 90, 80, 90, 100 degrees outside, it is so unbelievably hot in there, and the airflow is terrible because it's a super, super, super old ass building. And I passed out, and I wake up to suddenly not being in the crowd. I'm over the barricade, getting dragged by both of my wrists, getting kicked in the ribs, being told to get up and walk myself because these security guards were like, this fucking junkie OD'd and I'm tired of dragging him, basically.
What the fuck?
Which was not the case at all. But yeah, they're kicking me in the ribs trying to get me to wake up and walk for myself. And I get enough strength to like just be on my hands and knees. Like I couldn't even really pick my head up. I'm just like looking at the floor, like I can hardly hear, like I'm still like coming to, basically. And they're like, you have to walk, keep moving, you have to walk. And I'm like, I can't even remember what I said, but I was like, can I crawl? Can I crawl? And I did. I just like pulled myself to this spare room they had. I shouldn't say spare room. They have this like closet where they had medical in. And I like pull myself in there and they put me in a wheelchair and I'm like trying to come to and they're like putting the light in my eyes. They're like, what'd you take? 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 And I'm like delirious, like nothing. I don't do drugs. I didn't drink. Like, and I'm realizing like my wallet, my phone, I had one of these that I painted to look like Chad Gray, and my shoes, all that shit gone. And I'm like, oh man, I don't even have my ID. I don't have any of this. And I hear like yelling outside of the room, and it was security trying to fight my dad because he was trying to come save me, basically. And they were trying to fight my dad and like not let him get to me. It just
fuck the rave, man. Fuck the rave for
Anyways,
sure.
Ouija was touring Fallen Angelic winter of 2022. He's coming to Appleton. It's this venue called Obi's Brow House, which is so funny to me because during the day, it is a higher end German bar and grill. And at night, they push all the tables and chairs into the kitchen and they have a little stage and they throw shows. And Ouija came there, and it was Ouija and Kamayata were the main people on the tour, and then there were local openers. Like there was Spliff Gang, and there was this one guy named Muck Boy, and I think there might have been one other person. I can't remember their name. But leading up to that show, I was like, I have to make him something. I was like, this is going to be in Appleton. It's going to be so small. I know it is. Like, I shouldn't say so small, but I knew it was going to be a smaller, more intimate show, like scoping out the place. So I was like, okay, I'm going to run with this. What should I do? What should I do? And I was like, I can make him his own dead body man. And that's what I did. I call it the Dead Body Mac, that first prototype. But yeah, I took one of these and I cut the neck off and I painted it like a much more uh, antiquated bone color. It's a lot more yellow. It's like dirty. It looks like it's an older one, been under the ground for a while.
A little
And I drew all
grimier.
his face tattoos on it. Yeah, exactly. And I drew all his face tattoos on it, which that was the first time I ever did that. And I feel like that one's kind of a mess, but it's like one thing people don't realize when they ask me to do something like paint a sad clown, like a specific face paint or anything, is everyone's face anatomy is very different. So when you paint it on a different shape, it doesn't always translate because it's kind of formulated to their face shape the way they put it on. So if you're trying to like follow exact guidelines of shapes and sizes, the geometry just doesn't add up. But anyways, I did that,
Same
and
thing with
then I
face
did
tattoos.
literally, and I did that with that, and then I made mushroom head style dreadlocks, which that's like one of the only things I do that I will not tell anyone how I do because I straight up autism how to make those. Like I looked at all of the real mushroom head masks with dreadlocks I had, and I like started putting two and two together of like what they were made of, and I was like, okay, I know what they are. Now I need to figure out how to do it. And I spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours trying to figure out the way they worked. And then when I finally got it down, it became something that was useful of me. Like one of the things I like to do is I do repaints or refinishes for people, and people will send me their real mushroom head mask that they've paid hundreds of dollars for because they want it to look different, and it's a pretty cool privilege to be trusted with stuff like that. But there's like one or two other people that I know of that know how to do that, and they don't really be doing paints like that for people. So it was just a really cool thing. I did those dreads. I put a strap on the back because I slid it up because I was like, oh, his hair is pretty big. It probably adds some inches to his head. So I put like a big slit up the back and I put a strap so he could tighten it. And I brought it there and I put it on a nice mannequin head because I was like, I don't know if he's got a mannequin head, and if he just throws this in a duffel bag, it's going to get warped, it's going to get squished, and it'll never be that shape again. So I put it with a mannequin head, and I drove off to Appleton in a snowstorm in the middle of February. It was like snowing and raining at the same time, and it was super super cold and windy, and I did not have a jacket on because that venue didn't have coat check or anything like that. And I'm like, well, if I have to wear my winter coat the whole time during this Ouija show, or if I have to hold on to it, it's going to drive me nuts.
Yeah, that's annoying as hell.
And I got my VIP for that. And earlier in the day, I had posted it on like a couple different social medias and tagged him and didn't get any responses. And I was like, I'm not disheartened by this. We're going to be at the same place at the same time. Like I'll just give it to him. Like even if I have to just throw it up on stage, And I got my VIP and I walk into the room. And I was just like, I have something for you. And I'm starting to like open up my drawstring backpack. And he goes, I already know what this is. And I was like, what the hell? He saw it. He saw it. And I was like freaking out. And I handed it to him. And he was just like so geeked on it. He thought it was so cool. And Kev Buck walks up and he's looking at it too. And they're spinning it around and looking at it and like feeling the dreads and looking it up and down. And while I was like working on it, because I'm still trying to make it happen, dude. I want Ouija to wear one. I really want him to wear one and perform. I know wearing masks on stage ain't his gimmick, and I don't expect him to. It's just wishful thinking.
At
But I
least
did
come
it.
out
I
in one
did.
and then take it off or something.
Yeah, something like that. And I slit between the teeth because if you look when you cast this, backwards, the teeth are together. It's not open hinged right now. I cut between all the little teeth, and I cut out the spaces in between too, rather than it just be a straight across cut. I do it all jagged and stuff, so it looks natural, like teeth are. So it could flex if you put it on and wanted to perform or talk or smoke or drink or eat or anything, you know. And I showed him this video that I took of it while I was working on it before I had painted it. It was just the raw latex, and I had it on, and I was lip syncing along to Zodiac, and he was just like, "You're crazy, man. You're crazy. Like, you want me to have this?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude. Why would I make this for anyone but you?" Type shit. And Kev Buck slid me the coolest business card I've ever seen in my whole life, and it has not left my wallet since that day in February 2022.
Kev Buck got the Patrick Bateman business card.
Dude, it's fresh. I don't know if he still rocks with that card, but it's a super thick black cardstock, just like literally
shit.
like that format, like a simple, clean text, but it's black with white ink, and it says like Kev Buck,
Super
Rotten
classy.
Cake Productions, yada yada yada. And on the back, when you flip it over, embossed in it is the Rotten Cake logo.
Oh
So
shit.
it's like pushed in, like it's like 3D. You can feel it. It's embossed into the card. It's a super thick cardstock card. And
that does sound like a really
couple months
cool
later,
business card.
my life started falling apart shortly after that show too, which is crazy. Like mid-March, some things I had going on were starting to get like fishy and weird, and then April things had gotten even worse. And by April was when we went to the Violent J birthday party show when Jay turned 50, and that was in Milwaukee. Again, did a batch of masks for that. Showed up, handed over the masks, had an awesome time at the show. The show was so fucking cool. By then, Jay and Shaggy had started recognizing me. They knew who I was. They knew what I did because I had talked to them about it multiple times by then. And in June, I got a text from Kev saying, "Can you make 6 more of those for the gathering?" And I was like, "What?" And he was just saying like how they really liked him and they had a plan for the stage show for the gathering, and they wanted me to do 6 more of them. And I was like, "Absolutely, dude! Like, you don't ask me twice. Like, I got you. Like, this is what I do. This is what I want to do. Like, I want to do anything that you guys want. Like, and I don't know if I should say it or not. Uh, he just had me change a couple things. He wanted the dreads to be that blue and white, the like royal blue and white mix of dreads. Uh, and that's what we ended up with. Um, and I did 6 of them, and I was sending him emails with the pictures along the whole way, and we agreed on what we were gonna do as far as like compensation. And I showed up, and it was really cool because I was like, "Hey man, like I've got the mass ready. I'm on site. Our camp is set up. We're up in 665. Whenever works best for you to meet up, we can figure it out and do it." And he rolls up on the golf cart, and he's looking at the mass, and he also collected the mass from PJ for the clowns. He collected it all in one go, and he had me hop on, and I got to do a delivery lap on the Kev Buck mobile on the golf cart. And that's probably like one of the coolest, like one of the times I felt truly cool in my life was like, holy shit, dude! I'm like on a golf cart right now with Kev Buck. Sean Barrett was on the back
Yo,
holding
that's
boxes
lit.
of masks. And I was just like, my whole life is like I have a stutter sometimes.
You're good, bro.
Has built up to this, you know. Like I've just been pushing myself and doing this, and like I said, months before that, my life had like quite literally like shit had hit the fan, everything had fallen apart. I was like writing myself off as like down and out, and I was trying to check out, if you catch my drift. And getting that order, those 6 masks gave me a reason to not check out for at least a couple months. So I did those masks and I went to the gathering, and come night two, it's Ouija's night. I'm sitting there, we're waiting. I know what's going to happen. Like I know like my masks are going to be out on stage. I don't know how they're going to do it, or like what, like how the flow is going to be and everything. And everyone's just in the crowd being loud, you know. It's the gathering, the set's not on yet. And the like bass drops and you see the stage flood with all the fog, and I see 6 blue robes on stage, and for a second I was like, did we get pranked? Is this not a Ouija set? Is this a Dark Lotus set? And I'm looking at PJ, and then the beat drops and I was like, okay, I'm just stupid, you know. Like just because there's robes on stage does not mean it's about to be Dark Lotus. Calm down, Will. And yeah, I was just like freaking out, dude. I just couldn't believe it. And this is like when the coming of Stalewind was here. Like Stalewind dropped at that gathering. My masks are in the 6 Foot Hatchet music video. Like it's just so crazy how just doing small things that I think will look cool, more so for myself. Like, if I couldn't have linked up with Ouija and given him that mask, I would have been just as happy taking it home. You know, I thought it was cool as shit. I was like, this is so cool. Like, it's just, it's really hard to put into perspective sometimes, like the crazy stuff that has happened, within me doing this little mask ditty, you know?
Woody Woo said Carnival provides. Exactly, Woody. Um, shit. I had a question earlier in the chat about your commissions. I wanted to bring that up
Oh,
before it got
word.
too late. Someone asked the question very specifically. I don't know if you want to talk prices on here necessarily, but someone asked about commissions and what's the low to high end of a commission from you, Will?
Word. So I have a couple of different molds, obviously. Uh, so my cheapest mask, I do a skin face, with kind of like this like slack jaw looking thing. I can finish it in multiple different ways. I've done ones for people where they ordered them where they didn't even want me to cut the mouth apart, even though like it's intended to be cut apart. It can be left uncut and all sorts of stuff. I have a skin face and I have this like generic mannequin looking face. I'll show you one second. I don't have one of the skin faces down here, but I have this one too. All of this stuff's on my Instagram. You just kind of got to scroll through my feed of what I make. Those ones are base starting price $75, finished, shipped to your door. So figure 10 to 15 of that is in shipping alone. But $75 shipped to your door. And then the ICP masks, if I'm airbrushing them, those are $85. If you want the artist proof copies, I call them, the more deluxe sets, they have better straps and they're hand painted, no airbrush, it's all brush painted. Those ones are $115 each. Um, and they have better straps. You have a couple different strapping options for everything I do if it's a half mask. Sad clowns, also, it just really depends on what you're ordering. Like, if you order one of these, say you wanted just black and white, that's $125. If I have to do like some more complicated things, like we're talking moving into hair, into dreads, super intricate paint jobs, like if I'm putting face tattoos all over it, or if I'm brush painting some makeup, because it does eat up quite a bit more time. It just ups it just by a little bit. Um, what else?
You probably have a couple of masks you could sell right now, I would assume, right?
I do. I have a set. So from my Gathering Bastard mask, the white glowing makeup with the red airbrush and the blood splatter. I have a full set of those, so like a J and the Shaggy, and I have a Violent J available, and those are $70 shipped or 130 for a pair shipped. So I only have
Which is,
one more pair of those, and then I have one J.
if you heard his prices on the other ones, that's a helly good price on that, y'all. So hit up WiscoMaskCo on social media if you would like masks before the Halloween season. I think is the idea. We wanted to do this stream to give y'all a little bit of time if you wanted a mask or a set of masks from WiscoMaskCo. You could order them now because I know Will is about to travel and won't be home. But we wanted to
I
make
leave
sure
next
y'all.
Wednesday, so the
Yeah.
last day I can possibly ship stuff is Monday because I work Tuesday and the post office is closed by the time I get off work. So
make sure you get your orders in now. WiscoMaskCo on social medias.
yeah, Skull starting base prices are $125, and then it just kind of fluctuates between what's being done to it.
What's that cool little pumpkin
And
one? I'm curious about that pumpkin one.
I was gonna say I'm pulling up examples so
Okay,
people
here
can
we
see. I
go.
do these pumpkins. They're not super popular. I haven't done a whole lot for commission. This one is in the middle of being worked on. Let me pull it off the bags because it doesn't really sit on a mannequin head right when you're painting it. Uh, but yeah, this is just molded off of a real pumpkin, so it's just dead ass a real pumpkin. You can see like all the details there. This one has kind of got like a haunted mound logo
Yo, that is fresh as
going
hell. I
on
love
almost. But then after I
definitely
carve
haunted
it
town
and
too.
paint it, I back the whole, like what I cut out, I back it in burlap. So it'll have burlap over the face so that you can't see in, but you can see out. Um, and these are $165 because this is a lot of latex. This is when I fill this mold to do a dwell cast, the entire 5-gallon bucket fits into that plaster mold. And if I had to guess, I'd say it's about 125 pounds when it's full. So I gotta like squat that shit to like pick it up and dump it back into the bucket. But I can do them in all sorts of different paint jobs. This one never really took off. I started doing these pumpkins because uh, I wanted them to be uh, on stage with ICP, dude, Hollow Wicked. Uh,
Well, boy, that
I
just
did
got
a
my
bunch of
attention.
these.
That just got my attention immediately when you brought it over there. I think that's really fresh.
I have a prototype that I presented to them, like for the concept that they liked. It was again half Jay and half Shaggy, but it's a pumpkin carved out like their faces. And then I did a bunch of green vine looking dreads coming off of it, and it's bright orange and a green stem that's black light reactive and glow in the dark. 9 out of 10 times, if I'm painting something, it's going to be glow. I've always been a fan of glow. I love painting glow stuff. I just like how it looks. All of these ones, this white you see is glow in the dark white, so these will glow super bright when they're done for the person who ordered these from me. They ordered these for, and I'm doing them all as cohesive as I can in this set. So they're all this based with black and then white sponge paint. That's how you get this like crazy texture, and you see the black shining through in some spots, especially in the details, like in the wrinkles and any like stress marks. But I'm doing this set of these all white glow in the dark with black puke, and then they're also gonna have blood tears. I have to do that yet, and then I have to put mesh in the mouth of the pumpkin or in the whole thing of the pumpkin. But these are $165. Uh, 30 30 more dollars if you want me to do mushroom head dreads in them, but otherwise just any carving you can really think of, and then backed in burlap and shipped to your house, $165.
Yeah, so hit
And
up
agony,
WiscoMaskCo.
because these were in collaboration with I don't know how to say it, like an underground famous mask maker named Alex Wood. They've done a bunch of stuff uh, that was super famous in the mask hobby for a long time. they used to make these masks called the Red Angel, and it was kind of the first time that concept had ever been brought to the table in the mask community. Which what they do is it's like a, I don't even know how to say it. It's kind of like a really primitive sculpt, but the finishing is insane. They're all stitched up and they got wires coming out of the mouths and like pieces of like metal hardware, like all, it's like they're so crazy. But Alex Wood is the person who sculpted this. Their Instagram is Shadow Masks. They love what I did with the Gloom Unit mask, but this is in collaboration with them. So when I make these, I have to share some of my profit with them. But these are base price starting 150. It's a super detailed sculpt. The proportions and everything are super good. Alex is a phenomenal sculptor, so this was like a really cool thing to happen because we wanted to work with Alex really bad. Part of the vision that we have had with Sad Clown Studios is not just us. We want it to be a thing. It's the SCS. We have our members. I can't tell you the other definitions of what SCS is, other than the public service or public the public definition that everyone knows, which is Sad Clown Studios. But it's a thing we want to do to bring more mask makers together. So we have like how do I say this? We have other artists do their interpretations of some of our characters, and then we buy the sculpt outright from them so we can produce them. And it's just been a really cool thing. We've had Jordan Patton do two sculpts for us. He did a male sad clown and a female sad clown, and those turned out to be our models named Pops and Pearl. Pearl named after the movie.
Shouts out Pearl.
And that, yeah, shouts out Pearl, dude. And we called the male one Pops because Kid Cudi calls the old guy in X Pops, and then gets killed.
Yeah, the husband guy there.
Yeah, he gets shot. But Pops and Pearl were sculpted by an artist named Jordan Patton, and he was on 2 separate seasons of Face Off. He got brought back for the last season, which was really cool because they're like, we're shutting this shit down. We're gonna bring back some all stars, and they brought back Jordan. And Jordan has done so many cool things, and his sculpting is unmatched. He has this like comic that it's been his passion project of doing this comic called Dead Necks. It's like these zombie redneck characters, and he's sculpted all of them to life. It's like he's done like live action, like promo episodes, I guess you could call it.
That's awesome.
And it's just really cool. We like working with other artists. It's just kind of a rarity. It's not a super common occurrence. It's like we have to find someone who's down with the cause. You can't just go with anyone because some people are like, well, you got to give me $5,000 or you got to do this, that, or the other. Then we find people who understand the vision and also want to contribute and work with us. And that's where it's at. That's why we do this. We want to do stuff for the people who share our vision.
I want to ask you a little bit about working with Slipknot too, like because that's probably some of the grander scale things that you've been involved in. Like you sent me that one pic of was that in Times Square that one ad?
Yeah, dude, that was a Times Square billboard.
That's fucking wild.
So,
that's fucking wild.
90% of the credit for that project absolutely goes to PJ. It's a super crazy story of how it all kind of came to fruition, but I'll try to cliff notes it as much as I can. You know the Duality music video from Volume 3 where they destroy the house?
Yeah.
That's a real house in Des Moines. And when PJ was in high school, they were having a contest on a radio show to be in the music video. He went to like a special private school for bad kids. And he wasn't allowed to have his phone in class or in school, really. This is early days of cell phones. I mean, it's Volume 3 Slipknot. It just turned 20 this year. And he snuck his phone in his sock, and went to class. And when he found out it was time to try to get into the contest, he finagled and Carnival pulled its magic, and it was congratulations, Paul J. Vick. And he went
Whoa.
out to Des Moines for his birthday, on his birthday, doing. I just got distracted by chat. I don't know what Matt is saying. um, but he went out there and did that, and for years and years and years and years and years, he had no proof to say that, like, to show that he was on the Duality music video. I mean, this was the early 2000s. Like, cell phones didn't have cameras like that. It wasn't stuff like that. He didn't have proof that he was there, and a picture book got released. I want to say 5 or 6 years ago now. A picture book got released that a photographer took thousands of pictures during the Duality music video shoot, and inside the book, here's a picture of teenage PJ holding up a sign that says "Maggot Parking." And finally, he had proof of that happening. Meanwhile, before we found any of that, PJ has been doing the West German uh, clown masks for almost as long as I've been friends with him. He definitely was painting them before I knew him, but he started fully making them because he got a mold of them rather than buying blank casts from someone else and relying on someone else in this chain for him to make these. And he had been pumping out these West German clown masks just left and right for years at this point. And he goes to, want to say 3 or 4 years ago now, Slipknot did a show at the Iowa State Fair. And it was the first time they had played a show in Iowa in a while. So it was like a homecoming show. And it was at the Iowa State Fair of all places. And it was a big deal. It was all over the place. Iowa was crawling with people for that show, dude. And Slipknot, I'm not for sure if you've seen like their live DVDs. They did like Disaster Piece, and
Yeah, I just got
uh,
another copy of Disaster Pieces recently, actually. I haven't
dude,
seen it
it's
in
so
fucking
good.
years. Yeah, I was telling Emily because she's never seen it, and I haven't seen it in 15, 20 years or some crazy shit like that. Like,
And
yeah,
they
I
did a
can't wait to rewatch
DVD.
it.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's great.
Disaster Piece is my favorite Slipknot. It's a hard time picking between Disaster Piece and Purity. But Disaster Piece is just way up there. It's
That fucking era
untouchable
though,
song.
like it's in that
Yeah,
like that fucking first two album era, like so fucking raw and shit. Anyway, so the Iowa State Fair,
yeah. He goes to that show. He does a deluxe version of his West German clown, the clown the clown wears. It's called that because that mask has been a mask since the '70s, made in West Germany by a company called Rudel, and they make them out of vinyl. But when Slipknot went to the Grammys in 2008, and Clown had that grayscale one with no hair, that's a latex recasted retool of a real vintage West German clown. And that's when latex replicas of it started popping up. And he's using like a legit one, so it's not like a fan sculpt. It's
yeah,
one for one. And Rudell hasn't made anything since have gone multiple times, multiple stretches of not making them at all. And then we think they're just done. We think they closed up during COVID and they're never coming back. But he went there with that deluxe one, and they happened to be shooting a documentary. They did the last one they did before that one was Day of Gusano, which is a show
yeah.
they did in Mexico. And they were shooting a documentary about this homecoming state fair show. Well, they picked PJ because of how interesting of a character he is and all of his stories to basically be the main character of this documentary. And they followed him around and they interviewed him and taped him and were filming the mask and all sorts of stuff. They taped his like VIP, like all sorts of stuff. And dead in the water after that. It hasn't surfaced. Obviously, you would probably know about it if there was a Slipknot documentary, like a new one.
That sounds like a
It
really
never
cool idea
surfaced.
to like just that homecoming show. That sounds like a really cool concept too.
Well, yeah, because like they were like, you were in the Duality music video, and he's like, fuck yeah, I was in the Duality music video, and then it just went from there. And they're like, well, we're gonna do this thing, you know. And years later, same director as the documentary is like, hey, Slipknot's got new material coming out, and we need stuff for music videos. Do you still make masks? It's kind of the same case as us with ICP. Do you still make these? But it
Yeah.
was Slipknot on the other end of the line. Do you still make these? Uh, and we did the Witnesses. That was a crazy project. We were shitting bricks the entire time. It was like just utter disbelief that us two like relatively no name juggalos are about to do masks for a music video with Slipknot, the biggest metal band on earth. I think the only other person you could really rival them with at this point in tourage and dominating force and stuff like that is like Metallica.
Yeah,
Like
I was
I
gonna
don't,
say maybe Metallica, but like it's definitely neck and neck, I would say almost at this point.
but yeah, a couple months later after we do this big ass project for these masks, the Dying song comes out, which is the first video and first single off of the End So Far, and that's our shit in there, dude. It's I had to leave that day. Can't remember what I had to do. I had to leave the house. I had to go to like Green Bay or something. It's like an hour drive for me. I get in my car. I unlock my phone. I'm about to Bluetooth to my car and drive, and I'm getting messages from PJ with a YouTube link, and it's that the video dropped, or the video dropped, and I'm freaking out. I'm sitting in my car, like timing it, like trying to get all the best screenshots and screen recordings, every single frame I could possibly get with our stuff in it. I'm sitting there just like, and it was like 2 hours later when I finally left the house. I'm just sitting in my car watching this music video over and over and over and over again, and changing the playback speed so I don't miss the window of opportunity when a witness is on screen. And we thought that was that, and we couldn't really talk about it because we weren't told we could.
Yeah.
Uh, and it was crazy because this has happened a couple times now because we've gotten to do more stuff with Slipknot since then. I'm kind of like a handyman in this project. I'm not the face. I always say that PJ is like PJ can talk the talk and walk the walk. I always say, but he likes to say, "You're the body, I'm the brain." And I was just doing production help. I was dremeling, I was casting, cutting, trimming, molding, all sorts of stuff. Um, and then the song Yen comes out, which is another song off of the End So Far. And the video comes with it. And guess what? Our masks are in it again. And we're like, oh my God, they didn't just use these one time and throw them away, dude. And some of them look different now. Some of them have alterations done. Sean and people in the studio have been putting makeup and paint on these. Like they took our design and ran with it a little bit more. Like this is crazy. And then the last thing to happen was the single slash like mini EP called Bone Church, which has multiple versions of the song Adderall on it. It's like multiple cuts. There's like long instrumental. There's ones with like no intro. There's just instrumental, but it was like a special kind of like a weirdo brainchild project Clown had called Bone Church, and that was the last, the third and final iteration of the Witnesses being used, which were those female masks. Was the Bone Church music video, which the Bone Church music video is super cool because it's like really eerie, and the song itself, it isn't like a metal song. It's like piano and other stuff going on, and you're feeling it, and it's a super dark and moody music video. And with that little like EP, if you want to call it, with the couple different versions right on the cover, man, our mask. And then they're like, because they released that little EP, they did associated merch. And then I'm opening my phone one day and seeing our masks on a Slipknot long sleeve T-shirt and a Slipknot
Jeez.
T-shirt, and I'm like, dude, they made merch of this. Like, this is beyond just like, it's the wildest thing I could have ever thought of. I never in a million years would have thought that, like, because at that moment in time it hadn't been more than 5 years. In my first 5 years of doing this hobby turned like passion turned business turned, I don't even know, that I would be working for so many of my heroes in that amount of time. You hear people who are like artists who spend years and years and decades and sometimes never ever get found, let alone by the people you're like looking up to and are inspired from to even do the thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And within the first 5 years of me doing this, I work with ICP multiple times, I work with Ouija Macc, and I work with Slipknot.
It's fucking mind blowing.
Slipknot was very business. A lot of people ask me like, what are they like? Did you hang out? I'm like, no, dude, it's a manager from Universal, because that was when they were still on Universal Records, because the End So Far is the last thing, or not, well, Roadrunner, but it's owned by Universal. That's why I was saying Universal. That was the last project they did with Roadrunner. It was just really, really, really crazy. It's like I don't even know. I just run out of words sometimes. I can only like say like it's a like a dream come true. It's like it's like that impossible thing. It's like the Moby Dick. It's like
Yeah. It's like the ultimate reward in
the
a way
top of the
too.
mountain. Yeah, yeah.
You do now you do metal vocals as well. Scream vocals, I
I
guess.
do.
Metal vocals sounds so old. I sound like such an old man saying that. You do the metal vocals there. You were on one of my songs. You're on a Gloom Unit song. Do you have any plans of or any aspirations to do solo stuff or a project of your own?
I do. I have a passion project that I've been thinking of for since I was still in high school, man. I've always wanted to have a band. I've tried to start bands. I live in the middle of nowhere. I don't really have a whole lot of homies here, especially ones that are into the weirdo shit I am, man. I don't know. It's but I wanna do a band or something, or just a solo record, and I'll have like produced music on it or something. But I always wanted to have a band, uh something along the lines of Face Maker. That's always been like kind of like my gimmick name. That's why my Twitter handle is Will the Face Maker, because Face Maker is kind of my dream passion band. And I used to have so much stuff written, and when I went through that period of like 2022 to late 2023, I threw away my whole notebook with everything I had ever written in it in a mental breakdown, man. And I just haven't exactly picked it back up yet. But it's there, and I really, really want to do it. I told myself, it's so funny you asked that, because 2 days ago, and I'm not even joking to you, 2 days ago I kind of was sitting with myself and I was starting to write a couple of verses and things I'm thinking of, and I was like, okay, Stale Cigarettes and Discount Coffins has to come out in 2027. That's my goal, is to write and do an EP by 2027. That's the name that I've always wanted to name it as well, is Face Maker, Stale Cigarettes, and Discount Coffins.
So you set a goal for yourself. Now the only thing to do is to try to follow that shit and make it happen. I think the most important thing with stuff
I
like that is
do.
to actually set a goal, because you actually have something to visualize or a vision towards, if that makes any sense. Because you have like you already have a name, you already have you probably already have some song ideas, I would assume. even if they're
I
based off
do,
of
yeah.
those ones in the thrown away notebook. There's probably sketches or ideas from those still in your brain, I would assume.
Yeah, and that's what I've been trying to do is I every once in a while I'll remember like a random lyric that I had written in a part of a song, and I'm like, oh shit, dude! Like I remember. I don't want to say the name of the track because I feel like someone will take it honestly
Keep it,
because
keep it. Don't, they
yeah,
will
yeah,
take
yeah.
it.
But a couple weeks ago I was sitting and I was thinking, and all of a sudden I remembered one day I was like, dude, holy shit, I wrote a song called this. Like this was a thing like 5 years ago, and then I threw my notebook away 2 years ago. Like, and I immediately like because it hit me like a eureka moment. I immediately like switched over to the notes app on my phone, and I immediately like started typing because I remembered a couple of the lyrics I had, and I remembered the name of the song. And
Like it's still, it's parts of it are still there. Like the skeleton of it is still
yeah,
there.
well, I used to write a lot, dude. Like I used to write a lot, and the mental illness be robbing me of my creativity a lot, and I kind of really lost the love and knack for writing. I feel like I regressed in my ability and skill to write. Believe it or not, I had 1 point off of a perfect score on my SAT writing portion. Like I used to really write like that, and I went to college and life happened, and I kind of just really fell out of it. And now that everyone knows me, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but like our circle knows me and they know I like do vocals and music and stuff. I'm like, well, shit. Now I feel like I got caught. I feel like I got caught with my pants down. Like I don't know what to do. Like some people expect things out of me,
you still have
and
that ability in you.
I'm
I can
trying to
tell you.
rekindle this fire. It's hard to find it.
You just have to make it you have to make it fun for yourself again. You have to make it rewarding for yourself again. Because I know exactly what you mean. Like
Yeah,
I didn't write or do anything musically for 7, 8 years, something crazy like that. And it was something that I loved to do. It's not that you lost the ability, you just have to like rediscover what made you want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, or make it fun again. That's what I had to do. I had to make it fun again for myself. Like not feel like it's something I have to do. It has to feel like something you want to do, you know?
yeah. And that's I've been trying to like take it with stride, and I don't know. I want my damn music back. You know, like the
You can do it.
person who caused like my big mental breakdown. Like it's like I want to do it out of spite. I want to do it out of self respect. I want my shit back. Like I want to not be like that no more. I want to. That was like a passion project that I had been just chipping away at since I graduated high school. Just like being in DMT lectures, listening to my professors talk about how to clip and edit video, how to do green screen, how to do all this stuff, all these digital media technology classes I'd sit in for 3 hours a day, 3 to 5 days a week, like for 3 or 4 years. Like I just sat there just scribbling and scribbling and scribbling and coming up with names and drawing masks and like writing short stories, writing ideas for short horror films, like all of that. I just chucked it. I couldn't look at it. I was disgusted by it because of the people I was around when I formed all of that.
Mm. I think, you know, now that you've set you've set a release date for yourself,
Yeah,
I
no,
think you'll I think you're on the way to doing it because you still have the ideas. I can see that you still have the ideas in your head. You still have a concept that you want to pull off. So I think there's enough drive
yeah.
there for you to do it.
And now
I've
that my life is like the best it's ever been, now I like don't have that excuse. Or I don't want to say excuse, but I don't have that hindering me anymore. I don't have that holding me back. I have the most support and kind and genuine friends I've ever had in my whole life, and it is truly something that like until about 2 years ago, I never even knew what that was like. And even more so in the last year alone, dude. It's insane how much my life has changed since I started meeting all you guys.
That Juggalo support system, man. It's
It's real.
it keeps me going a lot. I have two more questions. We're gonna do that super pretentious question last, but I want to do one a little bit more fun. Shouts out to Whoopconda once again for this question. If you were a Care Bear and you had a symbol on your belly that radiated out, what would that symbol be?
You know, I've thought about that a lot of times from hearing you ask other people it. And I know Whoop asked it to me even one time before in the Twitter space. And I was like, oh man, I don't know, like maybe a sad clown or an airbrush or like something that's like I'm constantly like doing, like it's something that's super associated with me. But I think I'd want like some cotton candy on my belly, man, like
Hell
a
yeah.
little a
Like
little
a
club of cotton candy on the little
yeah.
paper cone,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
my beam is that pink and blue fusion, and maybe it spins up and turns purple right before it hits the bad guy.
Yo, I like it. I like it. All right, so here's the super pretentious last question I told you about before we went live. If you could tell the whole world something and you know they would hear it, what would you say?
Take care of yourself and others. See things that from perspectives outside your own. Do not be afraid to receive, give, or interpret criticism, whether it be good or bad, because regardless, you're going to get it. And you have to find a way to have that healthy balance to absorb it and improve or reflect on what you're being told. And much clown love, down with the clown until I'm dead in the ground.
Hell yeah, that was really good. I really fuck with the perspective. That part, that part. But yeah, the whole thing was good. But the perspective part, I'm always thinking about that. Thank you, Will. WiscoMaskCo on all social medias. You have some masks
Yes, sir.
ready to go right now. If people are interested, hit up Will on social medias. WiscoMaskCo, right on the screen. You can see it. Is there anything else you'd like to say or plug, or any final words for the nice people, the nice juggalos out there?
Okay. So, yeah. So right now I can't take I can take maybe one or two commissions. I'm dangerously low on latex, so I need a restock.
Yeah, y'all
I
just
have
saw he's
those
low.
on hand gathering masks. Everything I do is handmade by me. So if you seek out a commission, there's usually a little wait time. Everything's made to order, yada yada. But I'll be restocking hopefully very soon, hopefully by mid next month, the latest. So I'll be able to reopen up shop and my slate will be clean. I'll have no orders ahead of anyone and I can jump on it. Pre-ordered RBO Trill Garden releases
Garden.
November 1st.
November 1st, chapter 17, chapter 17records.com, chapter 17.com. Shit. Oh yeah, and tomorrow, no, Friday, the music video for Skullbone Soccer is dropping as well. Oh, and something else I want to plug. In about 6 minutes, over on Strange Suspicion YouTube, they're doing ICP and horror trivia night. So go to Strange Suspicion YouTube after this. There's actually a prize. You can win one of two gift cards. I think one is a gift card, $25 gift card to psychopathicvault.com, and the other is a $25 gift card to amazon.com. So there's prizes for your ICP or horror knowledge. So go to Strange Suspicion after this stream. We're wrapping this up now, so go right over there and check out that trivia stream. All right.
Get your ass to trivia night.
All right, man. Hey, Thank you, Will. This was really fucking good. We did
Thank
almost
you. This
2
was,
hours. We did almost 2 hours on here. This is
I know,
definitely
I realized sometimes like how long-winded I was getting. I
no,
was like
that's what
getting
that's
a
what we
little
need.
worried, but
I need that for these interviews. Otherwise, I'm panicking, being like, I didn't write enough questions. Holy shit. Shit. So
I've
I need
literally
that.
like never been asked a lot of those questions. If I'm being honest with you, I've never had to talk about it. I don't. These are things I don't really get to talk about in great length ever. Like I told you last year, that was the first time ever I've been interviewed, and this is my first ever like straight up like full
Sit
on
down.
feature, sit down, long time format interview. Like I've never done that. I have interviewed people. I used to do live stream interviews on my Instagram. Two of them are uploaded and they're associated with that Pill Fest. But I used to do live interviews on my Instagram because I thought it was like super fun and cool. And I was going to school for media, so it was something I had to do anyways. Like
Nah, this is great. Thank you. Thank you so
this
much
is
for doing
shit.
this.
This was a
Talk, and
crazy
don't
to
ever
me.
feel bad about talking too much, because that's, like I said, that's what makes these shits great, is hearing, once again, other people's perspectives. Going back to what you said, that's why I like to do these, other people's perspectives, and showcasing talents. And it's interesting as fuck to me that all these juggalos have all these different passions and talents and things like that. And that's one of the main goals behind this entire channel, really, is to highlight that stuff. So thank you for doing this. Once again, I'm just thanking you over and over again. All right, I'm gonna end this.
Thank you. It's so crazy going from a viewer to a participant.
Hey,
That's the last
you're the
thing I gotta
homie. You're
say.
the
This
homie. I
fucking
love you. I love you, Will. You're the shit. All right, I'm gonna end the broadcast. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, gimmick, all that kind of shit. Go to Strange Suspicion after this stream is over in about 3 minutes. They're starting the trivia live stream. Prizes. You can win prizes. All right, love you guys. End broadcast. Whoop whoop. Have a good night. And